get on the ocean and we'll figure out what's over there.
What about transhumanism?
Okay, let's talk about, so superintelligence, I think, is a manifestation of AI at scale, meaning that there's intelligence, features of intelligence that in isolation or in aggregation exceed human capacity.
It's just not general yet.
I don't know if there's I don't know if I subscribe to any of the definitions, but what do humans do in a world where the AI anticipates everything you're going to do next, or knows everything you're going to think, or has a sense of how to do things better than you do? I think we're going to be forced to adapt. So this idea of like humans living in their natural state should be back to their natural state. It's such a weird thought because we live in buildings, like we don't live under a tree. Even when you pick berries off a tree and eat the berries from the tree, you're breaking nature. Like there's an aspect of a continuum of like, what is nature, what is the human, and what are we doing? So I don't love the term transhumanism, but I do like this idea that like this super intelligence capacity needs to be harnessed by humans. I think there's probably two things that happen. And the second one I'm going to say is very controversial. The first one I'll say is pretty well described, which is this kind of human-machine interface. Elon's got Neuralink where they put the wires in the brain, but the wires, I saw a good presentation from Max Hodak at his company, Science Company or Corporation or whatever. You should have him on. He's great. But he started Neuralink. He was the old CEO at Neuralink. And he's got this system where they're putting like a digital device in your retina.
They put a screen in your eye.
Yeah. And it works. And so the screen...
How's it powered?
It's solar. He's got this whole power system in it. It's incredible.
So when your eye is open...
It's powered up. It powers up. And then it releases an electrical signal that triggers the neurons on the inside of your retinal cells that then trigger your brain, and it passes the signal, and you can suddenly see. And it's a very thin, like paper-thin kind of... device that goes under your retina in your eyeball. It's an outpatient procedure to put it in. He's in clinical trials on this. It's incredible. So it's restoring blindness. But you can kind of think about these interfaces that aren't about sticking a wire into the brain, which I don't think is going to be where things end up. But I think it's likely going to end up a little bit more like, and people are going to view this as being extremely dystopian. So I'll give you the two versions of it. Some people would say Neo and the Matrix, where you kind of connect the digital.
A solar-powered screen implanted in your retina that restores sight. Not in 20 years, in clinical trials right now. Max Hodak is building stuff that sounds like it belongs in a cyberpunk movie.
Thing, but the other one is Avatar, where they have that ponytail thing that they connect to. But there'll probably be some interface where the chip to brain interface is just a soft neurons. Like it's some sort of system that can connect with the brain without going into the brain. You don't need to go into the neural tissue. Now, I'm not super optimistic, and I don't get excited about this. Let me be clear. I'm not like, oh my God, we all need to connect to, like, we all need to be like the Matrix. So don't think about me as some dystopian, crazy technocrat. But I think my point is someone will do it, and then you'll be able to think, I want to fly a helicopter like Neo did in the Matrix, and you'll be able to fly a fucking helicopter.
Yep.
And you'll want to access information quickly using the super intelligence that exists in the silicon. So you want to solve a physics problem because you're, trying to build something on the moon, and you sort of like access that information. You look up and you're like, okay, you have the answer you need. You're not looking at a screen to get the answer, and so you're able to kind of tap into. And look, do we all want to be connected all the time? I don't know. I don't know if that destroys humanity or like is going to be an adaptation of humanity in an era when there's now a species that might be more intelligent than humanity in aggregate. I don't know. And so I'm not trying to be too like deterministic about this stuff. But I think that human-machine interface outcome is very likely going to happen, and whether or not people want it or embrace it, you'll have to have the benefits. You'll have to go through an exercise where it's lightweight, easy to put on. Maybe it sits above your ear and it works, and it doesn't need to kind of like be plugged into your physical brain. Maybe it uses a transmission where we can connect it to you, and you can start to think things and get information that you want and so on. And suddenly you become super intelligent, and you have all of this capacity that you didn't have before. That's one path that we might walk. Another path that we might walk, which is extremely dystopian from most people's points of view, but may end up becoming a reality because of what we're seeing happening in China and other places, is transgenic humans, where basically right now you can look at an embryo. And I don't know if you've seen this controversial app where they'll sequence the DNA of your embryos, if you've got frozen embryos, for IVF, right? Which is a common procedure where you've got effectively an embryo that's frozen. It's not yet fertilized, but you can sequence the DNA and determine what genetic traits does that embryo have.
I'm a big investor in Parasite, who is the most evidence-based one of these.
Okay.
So the ones that have used the Downs test plus the best geneticist on the planet to fill the gaps in.
I love how he walks through the ethical lines, selecting from embryos you already have, then editing genes to give traits you could have gotten naturally, then introducing genes no human would ever have. Each step feels reasonable until you look at how far you've actually come.
Right.
So you model the genome of mother and dad, then you take the sample from the embryo, and between those, they can triangulate with real accuracy what the embryo is. You have, here's your 10 harvest or your 15 harvest or whatever, and there's your dashboard.
Totally.
And we've got immune function, we've got IQ, we've got externalizing behavior. And Johnny Anomaly and Parasite are the best at this. And I don't think it's dystopian at all.
Right.
I think that crumbly genome, and if you say that selecting against negative traits is good, then it seems to me to be philosophically consistent to say that selecting for positive traits.
So everyone's got a line.
Too.
The further I walk this conversation, the more people are gonna on the audience gonna say you crossed my line.
Right.
So the first is, should we even be looking at the DNA of embryos?
We already do.
Right.
We already do, because and this was what
prenatal screening.
Not only prenatal screening, but let's say anybody that's ever done IVF, even if you didn't know,
they screen.
The doctor gets a microscope and has a look at the embryos and just eyeballs it.
Yes.
And he goes, yeah, that one looks like the roundest.
Right.
And we don't have a number. You don't want number 7. Like
right.
Number 7, we can't do number 7.
Totally.
Or it wouldn't even take. We know that it wouldn't take. It's not going to implant correctly. So he was already doing it. So I'm like, right, okay, you're just taking it from some guy. It's like an umpire in MLB that's just eyeballing it. And then eventually they're going to get removed and it's going to be robots.
Totally.
And you go, okay, well, I'm glad that the robot got it accurate 100% of the time.
100%. That is the next line. The next line would be sequencing the DNA and looking at the genome and looking at the genetics and saying, hey, I want blue eyes or brown eyes. And some people say that's dystopian. That's in the Black Mirror episode.
Well, the eyes thing's got a bad rap when it comes to selection.
Right, that's right. Okay, fair enough. Tall or short? Smart, not smart? Suddenly there's a line some people are like, well, you shouldn't be doing...
Well, blind, not blind.
Blind,
deaf,
not
deaf.
blind. The next line is what's going on controversially in China, where they're using gene editing.
Yeah, the enhancement stuff.
So they'll take an existing human trait, a human allele, and so they'll basically take you from brown eye to blue eye, or they'll take you from dumb to smart. They're not creating a foreign gene. They're just making a tweak to your DNA to give you the trait that you could have randomly gotten in the embryo, but you just didn't.
Is that what the guy did with the twins that turned out to be triplets?
There was a conversation. I think that's the guy that got arrested or got in trouble.
Correct, yeah. 2019, I think.
Yeah.
You know that there was a third one?
I didn't realize there was a third.
I'm pretty sure. Jared, can you just Google, ChatGPT, how many babies were born from the CRISPR editing in China? Was it 2 or 3? Because I swear that there was a third one. So after all of that, I mean, I might eat humble pie here and have completely misremembered it. But
you can also edit yourself out. So
I'll own my failures. I'll own my failures here. I've said worse things on the internet. But yeah, I swear that not only did he do this thing and he couldn't believe it,
He used to work at Monsanto, and now he's talking about GMO humans. You can't make this up. But here's the thing. If China's already doing CRISPR editing on embryos, the rest of the world doesn't get to sit this one out.
First time this has ever happened, and there was 2 of them, and there was a fucking third one. I swear that there was a third one. Come on, Jared, prove me right here, brother.
This is like
3 babies.
Well, there were 3 babies. A third gene-edited baby was later confirmed through court documents.
Fucking yes. Well, I'm not celebrating the thing. I'm on celebrating.
You're not a
I'm celebrating that
dystopian
I'm right.
pro gene editing babies. Okay.
And he edited the embryos using CRISPR-Cas9 to make them resistant to HIV.
Exactly. So the HIV resistant allele, which is the genetic trait, is a known trait. So he just made a couple of changes, confirmed that nothing else was changed, took that forward. So should we give children, or should we give embryos, these enhancements where we're not introducing new DNA? What we're basically saying, hey, randomly you could have gotten this trait and you didn't, but now we're just going to make sure you get it, and then stack this up. And then if you do that, how many traits are we willing to give to an embryo? Should I make every embryo superhuman? Should I make every embryo? Should I have a bunch of kids where I got one that's really good at sports, one that's really good at music, one that's really good at podcasting? I mean, you pick your poison.
Yeah.
And
well, sometimes you can put it in all three into one person.
There you go. The super.
Yeah, and the British accent.
And the British accent.
I don't think that's genetic.
Yeah. Okay, so that might be a line that many people are going to say, hey, I don't want to cross into that. And you could debate that philosophically. Why would you not want that if you're willing to do the other things? Where, like, it's a spectrum. Why are you going that far? And there's a lot of philosophical discourse around this. Now, the final one. The final one is transgenic. And this is where you put a gene.
The real question isn't whether this will happen. It's whether we adapt or get left behind. I don't love the idea of designer babies, but I love the idea of my grandkids being outcompeted by them even less.
Or a trait into the human that it doesn't naturally have, that the human would not have been born with, no matter how many sperm or how many egg combinations you put together, you would not have come up with this gene.
Regardless of who the parents were?
Correct. For example, being able to see infrared.
Right.
Okay. And so this is where you make X-Men, right? And the capacity to do this historically was like, no way, impossible. But now in many of these, there arguably could be the capacity to do this. And I'm not arguing for it. I'm just saying that it's likely that this is going to be a limit that's going to get tested at some point here in the near future, where we are going to have a conversation about how do humans keep up in an era, in a world of superintelligence, and are there certain traits like that that can enable us to either have a better performance against the superintelligence, either superintelligent humans, or a relationship with the superintelligence via some mechanism that allows us to connect with the superintelligence or control it better, or what have you, or all the digital AI that's out there, or other tools or techniques other phenotypes, physical characteristics that might allow us to better survive on Mars.
To
have
great